Welcome back to art. We're going to continue discussing line today, and we have a small activity that we're going to do. But first I want us to continue understanding and learning about lines. So there's different kinds of lines. What I want us to do is I want you to take your pencil. I'm using a Sharpie so you guys can see it better. I would like it, and you need to be using pencil to take your notes. Is I want you to draw 3 different kinds of lines in your sketchbook. Just draw them right up here in the top of your page. And I've labeled my page Line Continued, so I know that this is the second page of my line notes. So I'm going to draw a thick line, a thin swirly line, and then I'm going to draw a dotted or dashed line, excuse me. So those are the lines that I drew. So everyone should have 3 different kinds of lines. And remember what we call the difference between a thin and a thick line? Do you remember that? It's called line something. If you can look back at your notes, look for it now. I'm going to write it down. So this is called line quality. It is the thickness or thinness of your lines. I'm just going to draw a thick line and then a thin line. Down a little thicker. Okay, so what we're going to do now is underneath this, just draw one more line. So many lines. And you're going to write on the top left side, start. I'll put a box around that. And then on the bottom end, here's what you're going to do. This is kind of a fun exercise I like to do, and it's just to get you started with line variety. You're going to, on the top left, you're going to write the word start. Put a square around that, or a rectangle, excuse me. On the bottom right, you're going to write the word end or finish, whichever one you want. Your dot is going to take a walk. What I would ask that you don't do is start your dot and then just come all the way down and end here. Your dot needs to occupy the whole space of the page. So your dot is required by law, by Mrs. Prazer's law in her classroom and by the great law of this country, to start here, come all the way around, maybe do some circles, maybe do some spins, maybe do some jumps. Your dot has to take a whole adventure on their walk, and you're going to tell me what was happening. You're going to send a picture in of what's going on with your walk. So for example, let's take mine for a walk. We're going to start out a little lazy because, well, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to be walking. I want to be sitting down, right? But then I realize, hey, this is kind of fun. And then I start jumping. And I start skipping. And then I'm going to start spinning around in a lot of little circles because, wow, I'm excited to take a walk. This is so fun. Look at all the things that are spinning around me. And now I'm going to run really fast back and forth. And then when I come back, I'm going to go a little slower because, oh, that was really exhausting. And now, let's see, what do I want to do now? I think that I want to get in the car and start bumping around like, oh, no, so many potholes. Uh-oh. Okay. So now I'm going to do some really lovely, delicate spins, some lovely circles like a ballerina. Frog jumps. I'm going to tiptoe, 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 tiptoe. Walk really heavy on my feet. Tiptoe, 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 tiptoe. Tiptoe in circles. I'm going to do a big spin, heavy on my feet. And I'm going to skip and jump again. So much skipping and I'm tired. I'm so tired. And I end. So your walk should look a little something like this. It should look a little chaotic, right? It's crazy. Your paper looks insane. But this is called line variation, and we're learning about that right now. So go ahead and start on your line variation. Attached to the Google assignment are a list of questions, and what I want to, and as well as the pictures that we're going to talk about. What I want us to do is I want us to label each page half with the title of the artwork. So the first one that we're going to look at, and they're in order on the document that I've attached, is called Beggar. And you need to be writing this in your Spalding with wooden leg. And that is by a man named Rembrandt. So I'm going to write his name underneath it. I'm going to write it all kind of cool. Rembrandt was a Dutch painter from the 1600s and 1500s. So about 400 years ago he was active. And he had a tendency to use very light and delicate lines to convey the emotion in his work and the depth of it all. So, and this allowed him to capture kind of, I guess, the essence of what the people he was drawing were really like, because he was being so careful and methodical about it. And he used a lot of parallel, so go ahead and draw those out, and what we call cross-hatching lines. You guys remember those from last year? Some of you who are new, it's just a way of shading in where you go over your parallel lines. They're going crossing over each other. So what I want us to do is answer the questions in our document. So I'm going to label 1 and 2. The first question is, okay, once you answer that, we're going to draw a line, and then we will wait until we're ready for the next one. Look closely at how all of the lines move around. So if I am drawing something, I can draw it like this. So I've drawn a circle, or I can draw it like this. And that signifies some kind of movement, right? Do we see the kind of different movement that's going on here versus here? Okay, so that's what I want us to consider when we're looking at our pictures. So go ahead and pause here, and we'll go on to the next one once you are ready. Alright, the next picture is called Vase with Pink Roses by Van Gogh. Okay, and so Van Gogh, if you don't already know, was a Dutch Impressionist painter, and he had a lot going on. He had some mental illness, so that showed itself a lot in his artwork. And so just when you look at this piece, for example, Starry Night, he actually painted this when he was in a mental hospital. And so the way that he saw the world was very evident in the way that he painted. It was really interesting. He used a lot of short, quick lines like that to convey motion and to quickly log how something looked. He also used a lot of swirling and thick lines to convey emotion and motion. So in this painting, we see a lot of swirling lines. Not so much these lines as much, but we do see swirling short lines like this. Do we see that? Okay, so let's go ahead and answer our questions, and when you're done, unpause the video and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, the next painting is called The Youth Circle. And it is by Picasso. And Picasso was a Spanish artist, and he's most famous for his cubism pieces that look like this. I'm sure you've seen it. But he did a lot of different artwork in a lot of different ways, and he was a wonderful realist artist before he went into abstract art. In this painting, it's very simple, and you can see that there's a lot of joy involved. So he used a lot of simple lines to create the idea of emotion or joy or sadness. So there's a lot of soft curved lines and with minimal detail. So you just see a lot of these kinds of lines. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and answer our questions 1 and 2. Okay, so with Rembrandt's Beggar with a Wooden Leg, what I'm seeing, and I'm looking at it right now, are a lot of very straight lines. They're very thin, like we talked about, and they all kind of describe the motion of what they're drawn on top of. So, for example, let's look down at the bottom of the woman's dress on the left side. You can kind of see that the lines are going this way, and up and down. So that kind of describes, that the fabric is starting to fold a little bit. Do we understand that? So if we have a piece of fabric and it is folding like this, forgive me, I cannot see what I'm doing. If it's folding like this is in front, this is in the middle, and this is back here. Do we see that? There's space here in the fabric, and so it's moving and there's space, and Rembrandt does a really great job at using those sketch lines to emphasize that. Okay, so I really enjoy this piece. I think it's very nice to look at. It's very delicate, which is really nice, and Rembrandt has beautiful paintings as well. Okay, the next painting is Van Gogh's painting, A Vase with Pink Roses. So the lines in here, like we discussed, are they're very curved. They have a lot of swirling motion. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of movement in the lines. Do we see that? Just like we looked at Starry Night on our Elements of Art review, we saw that. We saw that there was a lot of movement and a lot of emotion. And it kind of creates the idea of texture as well, but that's really the idea that the line is creating movement. So here we kind of feel wrapped up in the idea that we're looking at a vase with pink roses. Look how pretty it looks. I mean, this looks so pretty, and Van Gogh does a wonderful job at heightening the beauty of the flowers without giving us too much detail about the flowers. There's a lot of detail in the background, really, and the flowers are the lightest point. So the lines that he's using are very curved, they're very soft, but they are also kind of dramatic, right? I love Van Gogh. I personally love this piece. Okay, the next one is the Youth Circle by Picasso. This is a very modern painting for him, in my opinion. I've never seen one that looks like this, but I'm also not a genius, so he probably has a lot, and I just haven't seen them yet. But I like how quick and how soft the motions are. I think that the feeling, I want to hop into that and I want to dance with them. Do you guys get that feeling too? The lines, again, they're really soft, they're very quick. They would do a wonderful job at expressing the movement and the joy that is in that circle. And if you notice the dove in the middle, it's so still, and it creates this wonderful focal point of joy and jubilation around that symbol of peace. And that dove, the lines are they're very final, whereas for example, they don't feel sketched out. They feel like he was very confident in just going in and making that line and saying, that's the line, Whereas with the children, it's very much a little arbitrary, and the lines that he's using, he can just go back in and make new lines, or he can just kind of scribble a little bit, and it looks very purposeful, but it's got a lot of movement, and the dove does not have as much movement. And I like this piece. I think it's nice. I don't think I would gravitate towards it necessarily on my own, but I think being able to appreciate the movement and the lines and how much effort Picasso put into it, I can see how I can like it now. Alright guys, that's it for today. What I would like for you to do is, on the Google form, I'm going to have you transcribe your your answer to number 1. So what I want you to do is with your answer to number 1, I want you to type in your answer for each painting and then submit a picture of your taking a dot for a walk. Okay? So you're going to type in your answer for number 1 for each painting and for each drawing, and the second thing you have to do is submit your take a dot for a walk assignment through Google Classroom. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Y'all have a great weekend.